We are going to change the fluids in a Branson 5220R. You can see first change, we're at 51.6 hours. To do this, there's a 17mm bolt right there. You got 17mm there, and your transmission is an 11/16. I could not find a millimeter metric socket that would fit it correctly, but 11/16 does. So 17mm here, 11/16 in the back, and we're going to drain the engine first and get the engine oil going back in, and then we'll start draining the transmission. It's almost 10 gallons, so quite a bit of fluid. Anyway, we'll be back. Okay, well, we got the bolt out. It was not very tight at all. You can see it's just dripping out last little bits. The filter right here is on pretty tight from the factory. I had to use a pair of Fram oil filter wrenches to get it off. I did go to my local dealer, bought another Kuj factory filter for it. So we have it broken loose now. We can turn it by hand. We'll let that drain out. We'll put our cap or nut back on the oil pan. Then we'll pull the filter, catch any that falls off of it, and then we'll fill up the engine and have the engine done. I'll be back. Okay, well, the oil change is done. Brand new filter on. I lightly was able to mark it 12/18, 51.6 hours. Oil cap all cleaned off, oil all disposed of. Did a run on the engine for a few minutes, let it fill up the filter, and then was able to go ahead and check the dipstick and confirm oil level correct. Next, we're going to move on to draining 9.7 gallons of hydraulic transmission fluid. Be back. Okay, so I pulled the oil cap off the back of the tractor. That way it won't create a suction, allow the air to flow through, help this fall out better. It's an 11/16 inch bolt. Right next to it is your hydraulic filter. I'll change that at the same time. We're gonna drain the case first. Probably have to go through a couple of buckets, considering it is, did I say, 9.7 gallons of fluid. So we're gonna get this nut broke loose and let the first of it start coming out. See how big of a mess we can try to not make. I'll be back. Okay, so here is the last of 9.7 gallons of transmission hydraulic fluid coming out. We've got a big pan, a nice big Atwoods bucket. A lot of people have farm and ranch stores. We have Atwoods. But there we go. It's trickling out. I tell you, this is a messy job. Unless you have a way to capture all 9.7 gallons at one time, you have to make a bucket switch, and I did. Got some on my floor. I pride myself when I change the oil in my truck because I can do it without spilling a drop, but that 7.3 liters is a little bit easier than it is to do this big joker. But anyway, all right, so we'll get let this finish its trickle. We'll put the cap or the nut back in, the plug, and then we will go in and change the transmission fluid filter. Probably going to be on pretty tight, and then we'll get the new filter on, cinch it up, hand tight plus 3/4 of a turn, and then we will start filling it up. So, be back. Okay, I'll talk loud, but we got it done. We used an OTC 2352 pump in the 5-gallon buckets. Pumped it in right to there. Got the tractor running. Sight glass is leading or reading level in the middle. Tested all the hydros. All the hydros are working right. We've successfully completed the transmission. That's a lot of fluid, guys. If you have to do this, make sure you have buckets, a big bucket. I had to use an extra very large oil catch pan. Just a whole lot of fluid in that tractor. Nevertheless, it came out, but that little hand pump right there was a lifesaver. It took quite a while. Once I got it halfway filled the first time, I fired up the tractor. I then went ahead and let it cycle through all the hydros. It filled the canister filter, took the oil level down. I went ahead and opened it up with it running and pumped up in live operation mode until I got to the halfway point. So now it is operating at halfway, just where it needs to be, and it is looking good. Idle changed on the tractor whenever it came up like it should, so everything's well. A little bit more time than I thought. Getting that hydraulic filter off is a pain in the patoot. The factory put it on very tight, way too tight, but I got it back on the proper way. But nevertheless, everything's done. We got this done, and hope everyone else finds usefulness in this. Have a good day.